7, and we're going to start with, first of all, welcome back, everybody. Hope everybody stayed well over the summer, and we can get started on our new adventure. First point of, wait a minute, I have the agenda, but we're going to start like we usually do with the reviewing of the minutes. Eleanor, can you, yeah.
Right.
Has everybody had the opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
I did, okay. Are there any corrections or suggestions? Okay. I move that the minutes be approved.
So moved.
Move. Second.
Great.
Point of order, Chairman. You can't make a motion.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
A point of order. As chairperson, you cannot make a motion.
All right, sorry, I forgot about that.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Seconded.
So moved. Okay, we'll accept the minutes as they are right now. Okay, the next one, Elaine, would you go over you were so good about all these records and the up-to-date things. Could you give us a rundown of where we are, hopefully where we're going?
Sure. So you received 2 financial reports in your packet.
Yes.
And just to wrap up fiscal 2020, I just gave a little bit different viewpoint on that schedule. It just includes month to month. So you can see what the activity is on a month to month basis for each of the programs. The final that ended up in the minutes, it mentions that we were 9% under our budget, expecting a 28,000, but that was a preliminary number as we reported. The final net was that we were 20,591 under, which ended up being about 6.5% versus 9%. So that was great, Nancy. We did get to use up more than we were thinking that we would use up. And it was pretty much exactly where we thought we would be. The van driver, assistant payroll were under, and pretty much all of the operating costs were under as well as we expected. So this I like to use personally, the monthly, just to kind of see, it gives you an overall view as to what to expect each month. You'll see we're pretty much consistent within general appropriation, which makes sense because it's primarily payroll related, of which we have very little changes, if any, during the year. Spikes represent a 3 payroll monthly period. So that happens twice during the year to come out to the 26 payrolls. Otherwise we have 2 per month. You know, the coming in of the formula grant, how it's expended, revolving funds month to month, gift donations. Those big jumps in the middle of the year were actually South Shore Service League receipts that came in to fund the social worker. And then we cleared out the van account and the trust account. The town cleared that out. So we left the year with 6 different departments, and we begin a new year with just 4. Donna's gone ahead, cleaned out vans, cleaned out trust, and we have these 4. And within those 4, of course, we have several on the gift and donations, but that's the total on gifts and donations. So then moving into our regular report that Richie sends to us, and I summarize like this. That, again, we see the 49,000 as our general fund disbursements, receipts. They always equal because we're funding as we spend. That's a little high compared to where we were a year ago in July and August. And the reason for that, I mean, our payroll is on budget, obviously, except for van drivers. The operating expenses are running behind budget because of the pandemic. And the one large item in the town report that we received, which you may or may not have noted, is the newsletter appears to be fully expended. So that's what's jumping up that dollar amount to 49,000. It's not expended. It's just a change in accounting that Don Piat had asked Nancy to do. It's putting all of the newsletter expense under a PO order. It's reflected as an encumbrance. It will be drawn down each month as we expend the anticipated monthly bill. So that's why it shows that we have zero balance available on Richard's report. And that's really the primary reason for that jump up to 49,000 in the appropriation account for the first 2 months of the year. Formula grant is just payroll, as it typically is. Revolving fund, of course, very slow activity during the pandemic. All that activity, the 470 in and the 1,580 out, pretty much relates to yoga. I'm not sure if there was a change in, did we bill everybody in June and July and August? I'm not really clear on that. But it makes sense what's happening there on the activity level during the pandemic. And gift and donations, a $50 individual donation and $40 expended, a little bit for outreach and a little bit for unrestricted. On my summary, which is not on the town summary yet, I have included the carryover balances from the closeout of 2020, which exist in the revolving fund and the gift and donation accounts. Don hasn't closed out the year 2020 for final, so we don't have that in the report that we received, the town report that we received. We're showing a different available balance, but I'll just track and make sure that we're in agreement when the town records are updated and we do reflect those carryover balances. It's never been an issue. I'm sure they'll be fine. I have detail on the gift and donation accounts. I probably should have sent it out. I apologize for that. I can send it out for the next meeting by type of fund, that money that is available for us. One thing that shows is that, we do have 55,000 in gift money, of which 32,609 is unrestricted. And we also have that carryover fund balance in the revolving fund of about 29,000. So, we talk about this all the time, but helping Nancy determine how best to utilize these available funds, both in the short term and the long term, might be something that the board wants to consider for what we do in fiscal 21.
Thank you very much. That was very, very thorough, and I appreciate it. We've been sort of sleepy with all this over the summer, but thank you very much.
Welcome.
Anybody has a comment? Nancy, you're doing great. I mean, everything is.
Thank you.
Hey,
I
this is
appreciate
Rich
that.
again.
Thanks, Hannah.
Rick, I do have a question on, let me find it again. It has to do with something called motion picture license or motion license.
Oh, on the detail.
Yeah.
Nancy, you should answer to that if you don't mind.
Yeah.
On the detail expenses.
Uh,
On the detail
You need
expenses.
to pay
Picture
in order to
license.
show the movies.
Say
Yeah,
again?
in order to show a movie at Wilcott, in order to pay, in order to show movies at Wilcott, like the Netflix movies that we get every month, and well, before when we were actually showing movies and people were coming in, you do have to pay for a motion picture license in order to show that to the public. So we do have that expense every year.
I didn't realize there was a charge for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do have to, you can't just play movies without having the motion picture license, get some money out of it.
Yeah,
And just, the attachments that Richard sent out, like this detailed report that Richard picked up on that Netflix payment, those previously had not been provided to the board because it just, I think maybe years past it used to be, but then it was just a lot of information to digest. The board should decide at what level of reporting they want to see. Do you want to receive this detail each month? Or do we want to just do the summary reports? But that can be decided anytime. I just throw that out. 'Cause Richard he did not do that last year. This
Yeah,
is a new
I guess
report.
I never saw so much paper as I did this time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Have we heard from the state at all, Nancy, where you are with the formula grant for this fiscal year?
Not yet. We are still waiting. We expect that by the end of the month or early next month. But just so that you all know, I did get word that the formula grant has changed, and they're no longer making us exhaust the money by the end of the fiscal year now. It's going to be, they're giving us, for instance, they give us the 20,000 that they gave us in years past, based on $10, $12 an elder. Then we will get that one check, and then we will not have to tell them what we're spending the money on or that we've spent it all. It's a big change the way they do it. And I assume it's because of the pandemic and they have enough to worry about, or they just want us to have the money and they don't want to, I'm not quite sure what they're thinking, but that is what's going to happen. Once they make the determination of how much money we'll get and the contract is signed, it will go without giving them a budget of what we're spending it on. So we'll see how that goes, but I think that's a good news for us.
thanks, Nancy. Any other questions? Okay, what's next on the agenda? I don't, stupid, with me. Yeah, I do.
We have to move to accept these, don't we, financials?
Yeah.
I make a motion to accept the financials as presented.
Second.
Okay. Is everybody in favor?
Yes, aye.
Thank you. Okay, the next person I'd like to speak, let me see. Well, I want to speak for just a minute. Just a few changes for this year. And the first change is going to be, and if we can get our time at Town Hall for our Zoom meeting, we'd like to start at 9 a.m. And our schedule in our bylaws, first Monday of each month. But as you know, when there's a 3-day weekend, we have to either go to the next week, is what we've usually done, or the following day, which kind of messes up some people's schedule. So anyway, the time this year is going to be 9 o'clock. And till further notice, it's going to be on Zoom. And the other thing, and this is open for suggestion, due to time constraints and concerns, I would like you to discuss, as far as the liaisons, I would like to invite speakers each month. Anybody can come to our meeting. It's an open meeting. But if we want the school committee to speak, I'll ask the school committee rep, et cetera, for the other community. So everybody will, funnel through the year, but not everybody, because it takes up an awful lot of time. And also going to suggest that the material covered will be relating to the seniors in the town. It's wonderful to hear all the things that are going on, but again, for brevity's sake, I'd like to try that if we have an uproar or people don't like that. And I'll always include a public safety person, one or the other or both, because we have to be very much in touch with them and they with us. Any comments? Yes.
Yeah, the reason why we moved it to 10 a.m. was Nancy attends the emergency management meeting under COVID-19 at 9 a.m. So we moved the meeting so that she could attend our meeting.
Great.
You're still on mute. Nancy, you're on mute.
Nancy, you're on mute. Nancy, you're on mute. There you go.
Sorry, that was my dog barking, so I had to shut myself up. So no, that does not affect me more. I don't have it on Monday mornings. So whatever you guys want to do, I am flexible on Monday mornings.
Well, that's fine. When you do have a conflict, just let us know. So,
And excuse me,
But-
weren't we meeting the second Monday of the month? And you said the first.
I thought we met the first Monday.
No, it's a second.
Second Monday, whoops, sorry. Second Monday, that's what this is because of the holiday last weekend. Okay, last weekend, yeah. Okay, second Monday, 9 o'clock, mark your calendars, and that will be our time. And are there any comments to the invitations for the liaisons? Okay. None?
Wait a minute. Second Monday of October is Columbus Day.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Do we want to do it the following week or the following day?
You have it published for the 19th already on this agenda.
Okay, then we'll go with it. 19th is our next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
That's good for the liaison. Sometimes they do get very involved.
yeah, and
Me too,
so
at times.
we were going to have Nettie come to our meeting today to talk to about us, about the focus of the kinds of things we're going to be asked to do this year regarding our certification. So if she's ready to come in, we'd love to talk to her, Nancy.
Yes, she's ready to come in. She'll be on, she said, give her the word. So she shall be here momentarily. And she's happy to give her report to everybody. So this will be nice.
I have one more question. Have we started with the van and getting people to medical appointments?
Yes, medical appointments.
Good.
Medical appointments have been going on for the past couple of weeks, and it's been working out really well. So that's good.
Excellent.
And Nettie is joining us under my name, so you don't get confused. Yeah, I'm Nettie.
It says Nancy LaFesse. Unmute yourself. Hi, Nettie.
She
There we
does.
go. There
There you go.
Yes,
Hi.
it does say Nancy LaFaus because I was doing some Zoom cafes under her log on. And I just haven't changed it. So anyhow, anything I do wrong, we blame on Nancy now.
Okay.
So as we know, here is, and actually, does anybody recognize I happen to be in the boardroom?
Oh, lucky you. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, let's talk about national certification. I will tell you, and you don't have to guess out loud, but I was on a conference call recently, and they mentioned the percentage of centers in the United States that are accredited. So just put a thought in your mind, what percentage are already accredited? All right, now I'll tell you, it's 2.6%.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? I was shocked. I would have thought it was like 60% of the
I would
centers.
have thought certainly that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's only 2.6. Even more interesting, of those 2.6% centers who get accredited, think of a number in your head of how many choose to recertify. Okay, so the number that chooses to recertify, 33%. Isn't that interesting? So anyhow, unfortunately, I don't have any factual data to back up if, centers try and they just don't get it, or centers aren't interested in putting the resources toward it, but those are the statistics. Okay, to begin officially, as you know, to become nationally accredited, the first thing is you should pay $500 to let the National Council on Aging know that you're interested in becoming accredited. And at that point in time, they give you access to a manual. Pardon me? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought somebody said something. You know what? I'm echoing back at myself. So hopefully it's not doing that for all of you, and I'll just keep going through it. Anyhow, so we, through the Massachusetts Council on Aging, already have the manual. So we can kind of circumvent putting the National Council on Aging on notification that we're going for this, because we already have the manual. So we can work on it, and then as we get closer, tell them, you know, we are closer to self-assessing and getting our ducks in the road to be officially accredited. So the next step is, well, let me back up, just so you know, so it's $500 to start, but we can circumvent that. And then the total fee is $1,500, okay? The 500 does go toward the 1,500. The only other fees associated is when we get to the end of the process, one of the final steps is peer review. So the National Council on Aging will send a peer to Cohasset to review our center. We are responsible for their travel and overnight and food if that, you know, if they need an overnight and they need to travel, et cetera. We're responsible for those expenses, okay? So with national assessment accreditation, there are 9 different standards. I will tell you what the 9 are, and I will give you just a very brief overview on each standard. The way typically centers set this up is they have a group leader of each standard and then a coordinator of all 9 standards, okay? So our next step would be, we need 9 group leaders. The areas are center planning, community connections, governance, admin and human resources, program development and implementation, evaluation, fiscal and asset responsibility, records and reports, and facilities operations. So of each of those 9 standards, we would have a group leader with 3 to 5 volunteers on each committee. Every committee will also have a paid staff member on it, but then also we have to, so our groups are 3 to 5. So overall, our committee will have on the big committee between 35 and 45. Of the 35 and 45 to 45, it has to include community leaders, paid and unpaid staff, the board of directors, people who are familiar with the center and people who aren't familiar with the center, elected officials, town officials, maybe a marketing professional, fire, police department, religious organizations, funding groups, medical professional, and business leaders. So the act of getting accredited is a town effort, not just a senior center effort, okay? I'm gonna run through 2 or 3 bullet points of each of the 9 standards, just so you kind of know the breakdown, and then we'll see what you think from there. So the first of the 9 standards, purpose and planning, that main group is to set goals based off the mission statement for the next 3 to 5 years. Part of setting the goals is to complete an environmental analysis and a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So the main point of purpose and planning is developing 3 to 5 years of goals and objectives in line with the mission statement. Community connections is to intertwine with Cohasset community planning and also come up with a marketing plan. So there's a lot of smaller things. I'm just giving you the biggest parts of each standard. So a marketing plan. Governance is bylaws, starting a participant council, which is a really good idea. And then making sure we have policies for when do we contact a participant's family, how do we deal with behavior changes, how do we deny service to people, who do we allow to advertise here, a policy for selling things here, a policy for any political activity if someone should inquire. So that's all under that tab. HR, of course, would just be all of our HR policies and procedures. Program development is a full audit of our programs, making sure that we are doing our programs in accordance with the mission statement, but then also delivering programs days, evenings, weekends, and in multiple locations, and making sure that we have programming 30 hours a week. The standard for evaluation is just making sure that we have a written self-evaluation system so we can make sure that we continue to grow. And obviously that's outcome-based. Fiscal and asset responsibility, obviously the biggest part of that is budgeting, making sure that we have an audit committee to our budget, and then written policies for recording cash receipts, depositing cash, petty cash, credit cards, purchase approvals, supplies, check requests, etc. All of those would need written policies. Records and reports. We have, of course, My Senior Center, which is typically where everyone swipes in so we can log attendance. This is all policies and procedures surrounding how we use My Senior Center, and then an action plan, obviously, to pull the demographics from that to be able to increase the senior center services. Last but not least is facility and operations. That's a pretty exciting one because we are so fortunate to have this new center. But also included with that is written safety procedures and making sure that everyone has first aid and CPR training. So that's it. So each one of those 9 standards, those are the main objectives. One of what happens then is each group has several documents that they feed into a master binder. Once we have all of the documents from the 4 groups, we will then have to make 4 master binders. We keep 1 master binder. One master binder goes to the National Council. There will then be 2 peer reviewers. One is an off-site peer reviewer who looks at everything objectively. And then the other peer reviewer, as I said, is the one who comes here to meet with our entire big committee and review that what we have in writing is actually what we do. So that's national accreditation.
Wow.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's a formidable task, but it'd be wonderful for us to do and get an accreditation. I didn't realize that senior centers or places that take their, that are in their stead didn't have to have some kind of stringent certification. So I think this will be very good guidelines for the way we even run ourselves. So I think it's great. Thank you.
Quick question. I know that Hingham had gotten their national accreditation. Did they renew?
I don't know, Nancy. Do you know if Hingham renewed?
I think they are, since they've gotten a new director. So whether they have decided to do it, because I think their 5 years is up, it goes for 5 years and then you have to renew. But I think the pandemic may put that on hold, but I'm not certain of that.
So I think, having a neighbor who's already gone through this process, it might be helpful for us. And I know our assistant came from Hingham, so she could help us understand what they went through to get it. One thing that I think we should take a look at is, Nettie, if you could take a gap analysis based on what is listed there as to something that, is either we already have it, we kind of have a half-assed version of something, and then we don't have something at all. That'll give us an idea of the workload and the timeline it may take to get there.
Yep, I can do that.
Thank you.
So what I can do is I will compile some of the documents with Nancy, because some of the things I'm not even sure if we have or not. I'm just not knowledgeable enough. And then Nancy and I together can compile an email and send to all of you.
That'd be great.
Okay, so that'll be our next step.
Elaine, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick question. The 2.6% of, of centers, accredited centers. That's national, correct?
Right.
Do you know what the state is by any chance? Within the state?
You know what? I do not know, but
Yeah,
let me
just
see if I
curious.
can. Yeah, let me see if I can find that out because now that you asked that question, I'd be interested to know as well. So if I can find
Yeah.
that out when Nancy and I compile the mail, I'll put it in there.
Okay, and just wondering did you happen to see how frequently that peer review would be? Is it 5 years to
Right.
be with the
Come
recertification?
First time, and then they would come every time you have to be reaccredited. They come again.
Okay, and that's a 5-year term.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So that's it.
What
Any
I
other-
know here in locally, I just wanted to add, from what I know locally, obviously, you know, Hingham next door, Duxbury, it has gotten accredited. I think they are the first ones that I know of, maybe even in the state, and Marshfield just got accredited. Other than that, I don't know if there is any other ones, but maybe out in Western Mass that I've heard about. So, and as you can see, there's so much work to it, and that's why it's helpful. Nettie, thank you for putting that all together and kind of making it a little bit clearer to us, because it's not something the staff can do. It's not even something, you know, a small group can do. It's going to take every single one of us here on the board to make this happen, and everybody has to be committed to it. As Nettie said, it could be 3 years, it could be up to 5 years before we actually get this done. And people change, board members may, you know, ebb and flow. So we just really have to be committed, even if we just kind of look at it and say, okay, we'll take some of these standards and change it for us so that we're in a better place. But if we're going to go through their accreditation, we have to do it their way, which means, you know, each person has to live a group based on what we don't have. I think that's a good suggestion, Paul. Nettie and I will look and see what we do have, and then see what we need. But they're so specific about what they expect. And then to do all this work and have our peer reviewers come and say, you didn't do something right, you know, do this all over again. I mean, that's also something. So as much as I think it would be, you know, wonderful, I've been wanting to do this for years. When we really think about all the work that it's going to take, we all have to be committed. And I just want to say that, you know, point of that, it's wonderful, but it's going to be a lot of hard work. But I think it will be worth it in the end, because, you know, it's a very, you know, that small percentage means that you're at the higher echelon of senior centers in the nation. So
I think one of the challenging
certainly
things right now is what they focus on so much is committees, smaller groups making up a larger committee. And of course, that right now, we'd all have to do these committees, I guess, via Zoom, instead of coming into the Friendly Senior Center and meeting by the warm fireplace. So that, I think, alone just brings, you know, an awareness to think like, oh, all right, I'm going to be on Zoom for an hour or so writing a policy with my committee. So it can certainly be done, but just a little different approach.
Well, the other thing that all I could think of when you talked about how the 9 categories and how many people are involved in each is, we're such a small town and everybody's already doing double duty on a lot of different committees. I mean, there's a certain I don't want to say handful of people, but there's, you know, we don't have a huge population of people that are willing or able to give their time. So I think trying to see where our weaknesses are in light of these standards is a great place to start, and it's a lofty goal, but I just don't know if we have the numbers to be able to do that.
Right. I mean, I definitely think it would be a good idea to come up with an action plan for us for the next 3 to 5 years. Like, let's see where our deficiencies are. And within the next 6 months, we want to write these 3 policies, and beyond, you know, or every month we want to write 1 new policy and review it at the next board meeting. Might be a good way to go after it, just so we are moving in the right direction instead of washing it all down the sink. There are some really good things. But as you said, that's when I first started. I think we have to just see, how do we want to spend our resources? And of course, resources are time and money. So,
Yeah.
but it's definitely, good to keep looking at it and moving in the direction of tightening up some of the things we do. And in the an example, one of the interesting things was just even under programming services. Of course, Diane takes care of our programming, but to look at some self-evaluation with the programming was really interesting. As well as it was interesting to me, weekend programming, you know, different locations in this little town. I could see, again, let's say you're New York City. Well, of course you're going to have different locations for programs, but here, I mean, we could, but why go anywhere but here? So, I mean, of
Yeah.
course we do office hours at 60 Elm, which is great, but you know, why should we go sit in the church hall when we could be here?
Well, part of the listing they gave you those aren't minimum requirements to be accredited. Those are areas that they look at for accreditation. So maybe part of your gap analysis should be getting back to them saying, you know, we're an 8,000 people town, 9 square miles. Some of these don't apply to us. Where does your criteria lead us? And that'll give us an idea as well.
Right, right. Good. Well, Nancy and I will do that gap analysis, and we can either present at the next board meeting or send an email, whatever works for all of you.
Thank you very
Sounds good.
much.
Nice to see you all.
Nice to see
You too.
everybody. Yeah, that's great. And thank you for your report. It was
Thank you,
great.
Nettie.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's quite something to think about. I think everybody should sort of think about the kinds of things they would be interested in as this gets going. And, you know, where your skills, where your interests, where your time will lead you. But it should be very good for the seniors and it should be good for the town. So we can think about it. I think now I would like some of the liaisons. I would like to know if Eleanor, you could talk about the Social Service League and what they did this summer as vis-a-vis the seniors.
Okay. Well, we gave a lot of money, but I think we already all know all that stuff. We supported the launch program at 60 Elm, and Meals on Friday, I think we also did for the launch program. And we are this week, is it this week, Tana, tomorrow that we?
Wednesday. No, Tuesday or Wednesday, either two. She wrote twice this morning and it's either one or the other. So,
Dedicating a bench at Sandy Beach.
yeah.
Right.
We also helped, I was a chef for one of the Friday meals lunch was doing to take to folks, and I made 50 shepherd's pie with Laurel and her assistant. That was good. And they also sponsored and funded the lunches for the ones that the kids would have normally gotten at school and things like those meals went through the summer because and Social Service League funded that to continue. So they were busy. And Kathy, you have big news.
Well, yeah, we're not cutting the ribbon in September.
Oh, but we're getting close.
Getting very close, yeah. I think it'll definitely by the end of October. Yeah, the connection of the utilities has been a major effort, but very, very well done. If anybody needs any work done, I'll tell you, Al Emanuelo is just a magician with breaking rock and dealing with issues and utility issues underground in Cohasset, and they've done a wonderful job. So we're getting very close. The building itself is done, basically, but it's the utility connections and then the landscaping and the retention, stormwater and all. So that's very exciting, and we are about to, we're going to dedicate the building to Kate Luna, our executive director who died a year ago.
Great.
2 years ago. I'm losing track. But, yeah, 2 years ago, I think. And so David Hassan is doing a sign for that, and we're in the throes of working that out, but it's going to be great. And otherwise, we're hanging together down there and figuring that we're not going to be opening the community room until at least the 1st of January. No,
Sure.
we just have to be very careful. But we haven't had any issues down there with anyone getting sick. So that's good.
Oh, that's very good news.
Yeah, and maybe you've noticed the house in front that was the Carter's house has been sold. So that's a good thing, we think.
Thank you very much. That's been a labor of love of yours.
Yep.
And a torment, I know.
Yes, and the torment, but it's feeling much better about it now. Yeah. So I was reelected and renamed chairman, and I said, well, we'll see how long that lasts. But right now it's okay.
Okay. And Elizabeth or Paul or both of you, for the affordable housing in Cohasset, do you have any?
We're trying to have our next meeting here. I think it's next Monday now, so I don't really have too much more to say. Paul probably is more up on some things because he just met with the trust.
Yeah, the Housing Trust is moving forward. As you know, there's a project going on in the harbor for the condos to be built along the water. They're required to have 3 affordable housing units, so they're looking to put 3 affordable housing units in around town, and one of them being 808 Jerusalem, which is a property that the trust now owns. So we're looking to have Habitat Humanity come in and put in a 2-family house there. So they're looking at other areas around town, and they've asked us to identify, the top 5 or 10 areas of the town where housing could be built for affordable housing. And they're going to take a look at it at Town Hall to see how viable they are to be built on. That'll give us an idea of what we can build and what's next. Stop and Shop is still moving ahead. They're waiting on some decisions to be made on sewer. Hopefully those decisions will come soon, and he can get his permit by the end of the year. We'll be okay. We're anticipating being 25 units under where we need to be. So with his 22 or 23 units or so, and then we add the next couple of units with Cohasset Hospitality, we should be okay.
Thank you. Just out of curiosity, I didn't know that it could be built, a building could be built without a sewage plan for the, how did they get approval to go ahead? Or did they have a plan and then the rules changed, or?
So,
because they've been hung up on that for a while, which is a shame.
well, the short answer is he was approved and he was issued a septic permit.
Oh,
And then through the construction process, they withdrew his permit on the septic.
oh. Okay. Enough said.
That's where it's stuck.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Anybody else? Diana, you guys didn't open at the swimming pool all summer, but you got a lot of work done.
Yeah, we've been working on multiple projects. One is finishing a deep in the pool, which means they go down the cement and find it. So after it was worth for us to be able to do it. The other thing I want to say is Town approached me and say parking the buses down the parking lot in month October in November weekend. So they've approved that.
I'm sorry, the sound wasn't very good on that, but I assume it's a good thing.
No, I didn't have very luck today in this thing. Can you hear better?
Yes, much better.
Much.
Much better.
They've asked for, the tourists asked we could park buses. They could park buses in the parking lot as long as the senior center is open. And it's only be on weekend, but we're you anyway. So they're doing that for a while. They're trying to figure out where the bus can go.
Oh. Okay. All right. Anybody else?
I think what she's saying is I think what Diana was saying about the buses, the town needed to put buses in Wilcott Commons parking lot for different weekends because of space limitations with what they had. So that's what she was referring to, if I got that correctly, right, Diana? Because because you're signed in twice, one we can see you and one we see your ceiling.
Yeah.
So I think the audio in there is reverberating off each other. That's why we have trouble hearing you.
Oh, it's okay. Okay, just wanted an update. Now, we'll invite some more. The only other thing I wanted to ask before we close out, you were, Richie updated. Thank you very much to Richie. I told him our members list, board of directors, please check your phone numbers and your email addresses. And if they're incorrect or you've changed, as many people do from time to time, please let me know. I'll keep the corrections and we'll redo the list. So you got them in your packet last time. So if you would just go over them, that would be great. Is there anything else?
Is there a director's report?
Sure, of course. Go ahead, Nancy. Nancy, it's your turn.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen so you can see my report. If you bear with me, see if I can make this work. All right. Oh, sheesh. All right. Can you all see this?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. News on our end, I just wanted everybody to know that we have, through, again, the generosity of Social Service League, a new social worker will be starting tomorrow. She'll be working 10 to 15 hours per week. She'll be a great asset to us. Stephanie Saunders is her name. And we have already got a few names we're going to be giving to her so she can start right away with trying to deal with some of the complex situations we deal with on a regular basis. So we are very excited and think that she's going to work out great. So over the past couple of months, even though we haven't been open to the public, we have had over 250 individuals still joining us, either through the exercise classes, getting food that we're providing to them, making the meals, as you can see, Meals on Wheels, the Grab and Go, which is very successful, Friday lunches, which is the launch, or through the St. Stephen's Parish parishioners, and the food pantry that we're still supplying on a weekly basis. So we've still been busy. Over 300 events have been going on since April. Even though we're not seeing people in person, we have been able to reach out to a lot of individuals, and the more we can, we're just continuing to grow. So it's all good. And hopefully by the time we have this all down pat, we will be back into the center. That is the goal. The other new business is we have started accepting credit card payments. So now you can register through My Active Center. And Jim, I know that you have done that, Jim Murphy. So if you, hopefully you've seen that that was a good experience for you, but people are now going to be able to do credit card payments. They can register, they can still pay by cash or by check, but this is just one more option for people. So I think it's going to be a good option as well. And then they'll be able to look online and see exactly what we have to offer as well. So new programming, we have Pilates started on Friday mornings, which we are going to be offering, which we have last couple of Fridays free. And hopefully people will join us for that. The Seniors Got Strength. Before we just had a video, but now we actually have Sarah doing the class through Zoom and just like the yoga classes that we've had. And we're going to start up Zumba Gold also through Zoom. So more and more things we're adding, and we're getting new people as well in response to this. So, and last thing I wanted to bring up is Civic Send. If you guys haven't, I encourage all of the board members to sign up. You go through the town, cohassetma.org, and then check off that you want to receive our Vista emails. And then what we do is it highlights programs. You get the Vista earlier. It's just a really good way for us to get to more people online. So if you haven't done that, it would be great if we could add you guys to our list so that we can get information out to you, and you guys know what everybody else is being told as well. So that, let me see if I can stop sharing.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, that's it for me.
That's it for you?
That's it for me, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Did we do anything during the heat wave for seniors? I know 2 years ago we installed air conditioners for free for a month or two to folks. I'm not sure if that occurred this year or not.
No, well, we, as always, if somebody needs an air conditioner, we're able to provide one to them thanks to the emergency management. But the big thing is now that housing, they all have air conditioners in there. So, and a couple of people that we have found that did not have air conditioners prefer not to have them. So we check on them. We've been calling people on our 3C list since this whole thing started on a regular basis. We do reach out daily to individuals. So the people we did find out that needed that, we were checking on them, but for the most part, we have not gotten any requests this whole summer for a air conditioner.
Great.
Oh, everybody's back now. We don't have any appointments or committee updates, I don't think, from our group. So does anybody else have anything they'd like to say now? Okay, I call it the meeting be adjourned at 10:59.
Good meeting, Tana.
And will somebody second? Oh, no, I can't call. Somebody has to make the motion.
I move that we adjourn the meeting, 10:59.
Second.
Okay, now we'll see you next month on the 19th, right?
9 a.m.
Yeah,